What if I told you one of the most powerful voices in American history never even knew his own birthday? No birth certificate, no official record, no celebration, just a child born into slavery. In a country that claimed all men were created equal. Frederick Douglass entered this world as Frederick Bailey around 1818 on Maryland's eastern shore. The exact day? No one knows. Because when you're born enslaved, your life isn't recorded, it's counted as property. He barely knew his mother. She would walk miles at night just to see him for a few hours and then leave before sunrise to avoid punishment. That's the kind of childhood he had. But even as a young boy, Douglass sensed something wasn't just painful, it was wrong. And then something small changed everything. When he was sent to Baltimore, his enslaver's wife began teaching him the alphabet. At first, it seemed harmless, but her husband quickly stopped it. He said something that would shape Frederick's entire future. If you teach that boy how to read, there will be no keeping him. Think about that. Reading was considered dangerous. Because knowledge creates awareness, and awareness creates freedom. From that moment on, Frederick made a quiet decision. If education was forbidden, he would chase it anyway. He secretly taught himself to read. He traded bread with neighborhood kids in exchange for lessons. He read newspapers, speeches, anything he could get his hands on. And once he understood the word freedom, he could never unlearn it. As a teenager, he was sent to a brutal slave breaker, a man hired to crush rebellion out of enslaved people. Douglass was beaten, exhausted, pushed to the edge, until one day, he fought back. And later in life, he said that moment, when he physically resisted, was when he first felt truly free inside. In 1838, at about 20 years old, Frederick escaped slavery, disguised as a sailor, carrying borrowed papers, knowing that if he was caught, it could cost him his life. But he made it, and when he reached freedom, he didn't just escape, he reinvented himself. Frederick Bailey became Frederick Douglass, taking his new last name from a character in a poem. Because freedom isn't just about leaving chains behind, it's about choosing who you become next. Douglass could have stayed quiet, built a safe life, disappeared into the North, but he didn't. He started speaking, and when he spoke, people listened. His voice was powerful, sharp, intelligent. So powerful that some refused to believe he had ever been enslaved, because he was too articulate. So he wrote his story. His autobiography became a bestseller. He traveled the country and even overseas, demanding the abolition of slavery and equal rights for all. He met with President Abraham Lincoln. He recruited black soldiers during the Civil War. He pushed for voting rights after slavery ended. And here's something most people don't realize. He later served as the first African-American U.S. Marshal for the District of Columbia. The same country that once claimed to own him, now trusted him to represent it. Frederick Douglass became one of the most photographed men of the 19th century. He understood something powerful. Image matters. Representation matters. Dignity matters. He died in 1895 in Washington, D.C., likely around 78 years old. The man who never knew his birthday became a man history could never forget. And maybe that's the lesson. Your beginnings don't define your ceiling. Your circumstances don't define your capacity. Frederick Douglass started life as property and became one of the most respected human rights leaders in American history. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because he refused to accept the limits placed on him. And sometimes, that's where real freedom begins.